jealous because he was making more money shining shoes than they would be making cutting hair. So he had to go out and get his own place, and it just skyrocketed. I used to be on the board of trustees of the Austin Bank. I was on the board for 10 years. Matter of fact, I only resigned from the board when I got elected to Congress because I wouldn't be able to go to the meetings and that kind of thing. Yes. And of course, he was one of the part owners of the bank also.
Boy.
And of course, real estate. He had a roofing company. His son is an electrician, and he was just passionate. He was a classmate of Don Jackson. They all went to Marshall High School, won championships and stuff like that. But the community said goodbye to him today.
Oh.
Jam-packed, the biggest facility in the community, the JLM Center. And then they had a motorcade that went from all the places where he had been. So, it was a great celebration. Just outpouring. Look, presidents have been in there. I've taken people running for president into Shine King and Lake and Kedley. I've taken mayors, governors, everybody come campaigning on the west side of Chicago. We'd always bring them to Shine King. They'd have to come through and get their shoes shined. Bill Clinton has been up there sitting in the seat and stuff. So he was just celebrated.
Yeah,
so
but
to his family.
Yeah, but America's Heroes Group, extends our condolences to him. It sounds like you're describing a self-made business icon that that many of our young people need to be listening to and looking at, and studying their life to to figure out what they need to do in life. And I am so proud of the story you just told, Congressman Davis, and you just taught me something new too. So it's not just the stomach to a man's heart; it's their feet too, because those silk socks sound like they were really important.
Well, let me tell you, you felt like a king when you were. Isaiah Thomas shined shoes in there. As a matter of fact, he introduced me to the Thomas family, to Isaiah Thomas, the famed basketball player, now businessman. And his brother Mark was a policeman. And Mark used to drive me around when I was in the city council. And we had bodyguards sometimes if folks was messing with you. And so Cliff remember those days. And, you sometimes had to have a bodyguard and stuff, all that.
Yeah, Cliff's eyes lit up when you said that.
Well, things, as bad as they sometimes look, things are still looking good and up.
Sure.
I want to thank the people who voted for me and gave me another opportunity to get a scoop of public service.
And congratulations.
I don't think there's anything in the world more important than public service.
You're deserving of it. You're deserving. I had to interrupt you for a moment. You're deserving of it. You've done so much for so many as an elected official. I just think it's just great that you continue to be there, and I hope you will be there many more years.
Yeah. But we're so fortunate. The people have been so engaged, so involved, so actually just they make you want to wake up and get started and go off and do something every day. And Cole taught his son, one of them is my electrician. I've used all their businesses at different times. So things are pretty good. They're looking up.
That's
One
great.
disappointment, though, in terms of the 7th District and other districts, is that the voting turnout in Chicago was dismal.
Really?
especially in the African American community. I can't miss saying that because, only about 20% of the people voted. Wow. That's 2 out of 10.
That's terrible.
It's unbelievable.
Yes.
And we can't survive doing that. We got to do better. We got to make sure we do better in every election. If it ain't nothing but the election for Block Club president.
No, you're right.
You got to do better than that. So my little comment.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Go right ahead.
No, I was going to say that my little comment, my message, we're coming up to the midterm elections in November.
Right, yes.
And the Republicans think they're going to take the House back. They think they're going to take the Senate. And although in places like Illinois, we're generally relatively safe, but we can't go to sleep. We got to make sure people come out and vote. And I'm not being selfish, except that I'm selfish in the context of wanting Democrats to win.
Well,
I don't make any bones about that.
One thing I know for sure, you have certainly done and continue to do the wonderful things you do for not only the people in the community, but everybody. I've been over to too many of your events to not recognize the things that you do, Congressman, because you just do a great job.
And Congressman Thomas Davis, I wanted to make one point about something you were talking about with the voting. And I was in a discussion with some people. It was with the American Association of Public Health Physicians. And one of the comments I made is that many of the people who voted in the Republican states, like for Texas and other states where you have predominance of voting Republicans, is that the women who voted there actually put someone in office who took away their civil right, that took away their right to an abortion. Now, some people are pro-abortion, against abortion. It's an individual woman's choice, and there should be no legal interposition between a provider, a treating physician, and their patient. And in this particular situation, I think that people have to realize it became down to the vote. It was the vote. If they had voted, we may not even have had this issue. We may not have had the Supreme Court stacked. We may not have had the federal court stacked if we had just voted. And when you were saying 2 out of 10 voting, that is just sinful. You need to get up and vote if you are a citizen in this country. I was a veteran. I saw people die on the battlefield who were fighting for your right to be a voter. And all you can do, you can't take 5 seconds to go and vote.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
And you mentioned the right to choose. I am always proud of the fact that it was Ruth Rothstein and I who started the first teen health clinic in the high schools in Chicago. And of course, that involved teaching kids sex education and about contraception and all of those things that go along with making health decisions. We started the PATH Clinic at the Austin High School, and Ruth Rothstein and I were the two main promoters of getting that started in the Austin community. And we also started a fellow named Ernie Jenkins and I. We were very instrumental in an ounce of prevention and getting people to accept the ounce of prevention in the community where we were working with, again, Ruth Rothstein and Miss Weisbord, who really got that moving in Illinois. So I agree with you that the ability to make private decisions about your own health and what you do certainly should be available to each and every person in this country. And some of these states, people, they vote for individuals who deny them the opportunity to make their private decisions. So we got to keep working, got to keep doing it. And, hey, it's just always a pleasure to hear. There's something about being a gentleman. I mean, I like to call people gentlemen who are. and so both of you are indeed. You've given so much. You've done so much. You make anybody proud to know you, proud to know what you do and what you stand for. And so, hey, it's always good just to turn on the radio and hear America's heroes.
Well, Congressman,
two of them.
That's very nice. That's reciprocal. But I know you, and we have done a whole lot of things together and helped each other, and I'm sure we will continue to do that. But you've done a great job, and I'm so happy to say that I am a friend of Congressman Danny K. Davis.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, you all and Glenda Smith, and let me tell you, people, I like the idea that I can say something positive, say something good, something meaningful about people. I take delight in doing that. And Chicago has had so many outstanding people, black people, all kinds of, but black people who have done so much. We got to kick up the history books, and we got to make sure that our young people know this. And I think part of the rift, or what I hear as the disenchantment or the distance between people of different ages, is that we are not teaching our young people enough to have a better awareness and understanding of what it used to be like before people did a lot of stuff to change it. And I don't think they're being taught enough of that. I am so proud of the work and stuff that my mother and father did. I looked up, I'm in my office, and there's a picture of my father on the wall. In the other room, there's a picture of my mama on the wall. And if it hadn't been for the stuff that they did, I wouldn't be whatever it is that I am today.
Yes.
So I have great appreciation. And I know the people that you grew up around, Cliff. I know the people who lived in your neighborhood, the people who were on your block, and the outstanding individuals who were part of that era and made the South Side of Chicago one of the premier black communities in America. Oscar DePriest, the first black guy to go to Congress after Reconstruction, right off the South Side of Chicago. Bill Dawson, who became one of the great congressmen who patronage was big time back then. And Bill Dawson and Adam Clayton Powell were the two black congressmen.
That's right.
Each one of them powerful, and they all right. Dawson, you kind of had to go see him if you want to get a government job.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, you had to be a part of that. Yeah. And people worked the post office, and blacks became middle class with all of these opportunities that were being created. But, we'll get back to the glory days of voting, and we just got to make it happen.
Well, don't forget, Congressman, you've done a great job, and you continue to. But I've been in your office enough to know those wonderful people you were talking about who have pictures in the different rooms in your headquarters there on the west side. You know who I'm talking about. You just mentioned it.
Oh, yeah. Well, we always call it the best side. Don Jackson was at this funeral, and he was talking about how he came through Marshall High School and that he had his business in Loop, and Cole had his business out on the west side, but they were all part of the same team that came out of Marshall High School, and that the west side was still the best side. It wasn't a sad kind of funeral. It was a different kind, but not a sad kind. So, gentlemen, thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
It's my pleasure. And, I met with the guys over at the Jesse Brown a few days ago. Wonderful conversation. They've got a good manager over there, and they are eager to keep doing some stuff and do some stuff, and it's about time we pay them another visit.
Sounds great.
Congressman Davis, you were talking a lot about, the youth and how, I think our youth are being miseducated because the big names, that are out there, historically, but you don't know the culture within your own community. That the youth are not being exposed to all the things that you were talking about all the successful business people around them. I was speaking to one young man because I've been talking to these young people, and he, after we finished the discussion, he said, "Wow," he said, "I'm so glad I talked to you. I didn't know an old man knew so much." And I said, I didn't know a young man could recognize it. So we started laughing, and we started talking about it. But what is it that we have a couple of minutes to go. What would you say to the youth and the people who are, my age, or people who are in, anywhere along this spectrum within the community? What should we be doing to talk to each other to make sure that people understand how unique and skilled and our abilities that we've built? How do we get that across to them that there's another path other than this violent stuff that's going on, other than looking at life and saying that life is not worth anything because I know that I can't do anything in this culture, in this community? What can we do to turn that opinion around?
My folks and the folks who came along at that time who taught us stuff used to always tell us, never look down unless you're trying to help somebody else up.
Yeah, I like that.
Oh, boy.
Yeah,
I like that.
They say, just if you did that, you would realize how much fun life can be. And we talked a great deal about second chances today because Cole often hired guys who would come right out of the penitentiary and jail and that kind of thing and put them to work shining shoes, and they'd be making sometimes $300, $400, $500 a week because he taught them to be the best. I mean, his whole motto was, if you're going to be a shoe shiner, you got to be the king. So, You're the king of the shine, and that's what he taught. And I knew kids who would be making $500-600 a week shining shoes when there was a big population and lots of movement. And of course, that was as much as people were making working in factories and doing other kinds of things and teaching school or whatever they did. So just help somebody.
Yes.
And if you do that, I think life just becomes so much better. So that would be my...
I see why you're a congressman, because why you're keeping that seat. And, I was going to congratulate you, but what I have to do is really congratulate the Illinois 7th Congressional District on being able to retain you as their leader, because, and when I go to those things, Cliff was talking about going to some of your meetings and all that, but when I go there, I see the fire in everyone's eyes when you speak, and when you're what you have done for that community, that you can tell that the people have benefited and they love this. Yeah. So we just ran out of time. Glenda's waving me in. So.
Well, thank you both, and thank you to Glenda. We know it's time to go, so right on. I'll be listening the rest of the afternoon.
Thank you,
Congressman.
Thank you.
And stay with us. We're at America's Heroes Group is going to a commercial break, and we'll be right back with the governor of talk radio and Cliff Kelley, who is going to be in the next session as well.
We have in our Chase bags, we have a care package of hygiene, we have shaving equipment, we have razors, and for the women we have the same personal hygiene items for them as well. And we want to say thank you for their service. This is Chase Bank. Thank you very much. People in the neighborhood, free haircuts, free service, free food. Look good. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your service. Thank you,
Okay. On behalf of Cliff Kelley, America's Heroes Group, we sincerely thank Chase Bank for coming where it matters to help homeless veterans have a hot meal today and a care package. We are sincerely grateful for this partnership. Yeah.
We are a roundtable talk show where information, resources, and referrals are provided intentionally every Saturday to empower our military population on WVON 1690 AM, the iHeart Radio app from 4 to 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. Please visit our website at www.americashg.org.
What's going on? What's going on?
From the Xfinity Studios at WVON, it's America's Heroes Group, hosted by Cliff Kelley, with co-host Dr. Damon Arnold and National Guard veteran Sean Claiborne on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
Good afternoon, and welcome to America's Heroes Group Roundtable with Partner Veteran Advocacy Project. I'm Cliff Kelley, and we are always pleased, of course, to have our great friend with us in the studio. We'll talk about him in just a moment. July is American Diabetes and National Minority Mental Health Awareness Month. And that fits in, right? It's Saturday, July 23rd, 2022. And as I mentioned, I am Vietnam veteran co-founder and host Cliff Kelley. And we are so pleased to have with us
his co-host, Colonel Dr. Damon Arnold.
That's right.
And Cliff Kelley, the Governor of Talk Radio. I'm always honored to be with you. Our executive producer is Glenda Smith. Our digital media producer is Ivan Ortega, the great of Scout Honor Productions. And we have a partner with us, a special partner, Cliff. We know Brent G. Filbert, who was retired from the military after 30 years of service in the U.S. Navy. And he also worked in the Pentagon. He is also a professor and director of the Military Law Veteran Advocacy Project. He has been doing such great work for our veterans, getting their feet back on the ground, helping them through very difficult situations that can really put wrenches in your life and give you great problems. So we have to really thank him and honor him for his work on behalf of our veterans in the law advocacy arena. Today he's going to be talking about recent developments in VA disability law, policy, and discharge upgrades. How are you doing, Brent?
I'm doing great. Good talking to you today, gentlemen.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Right.
So give us a scoop. What's going on recently? I know you've been busy
Well,
as usual.
Yeah, I've been busy, very busy. There's always lots to do in trying to help veterans, as you all know. So I guess, so each year, I've been doing this show, I can't believe it now, I guess for 3 years, but I like to take one show and just talk about recent developments in the law. And this is a good time to do it because there is, on the horizon, there's going to be a really substantial change in really impacting millions of veterans with legislation that's going to be coming up online, I think, in the next few weeks. It's called the PACT Act, and it's I don't know if you all have talked about it or not, but it is known as the Sergeant First Class Heath Robinson Honoring Our Promise to Address Comprehensive Toxics Act. It's passed the Senate once, and it's passed the House. It's going back to the Senate, where it will pass also. But it has sweeping improvements for health care and disability compensation for veterans, and I think it'll be law in the next few weeks. So that's one of the major things that's happening. I'd like to talk a little bit about what that law is going to do in helping veterans with disability compensation claims and access to health care. It really is a huge deal. And to tell you, something's a big deal in the government when it costs a lot of money, and the cost of this is upwards of $275 billion that the federal government's going to put into this over the next several years. And what it does is the law opens access to health care for veterans who normally would not be eligible for it if those veterans served in areas where there were burn pits. This goes back to the whole burn pit issue. So veterans who served in Afghanistan and Iraq often would come back and be exposed to all these toxins, but they would not be eligible for health care or free health care from the VA because they didn't serve long enough. They didn't have any service-connected conditions. They couldn't show that they had conditions that were related to this toxic exposure, and so they were really cut out. And it's been going on for years. And what this bill does is it provides VA health care to veterans who served post 9/11 in any of those areas, free health care. So it's going to affect 3.5 million veterans who are going to have access to health care once this bill becomes law in the next couple of weeks. That's one huge change that is out of this particular law. There's others as well that I'm going to talk about, but that's one that's really significant.
Wow.
The other thing it does is this law adds 23 new conditions that are presumed to have been caused by toxic exposure, including multiple types of cancer and respiratory diseases. So now if a veteran served in Afghanistan or Iraq or some other areas where there's known burn pits, and they get one of those conditions, they don't have to show that it was caused by anything. It's presumed. So that's a huge deal as well. So that's for veterans who are filing for disability compensation, who have cancer or respiratory diseases in the past, and I've had many of them where their claims are denied because they can't show exactly what's required. It's going to be presumed. So that makes it much easier in getting compensated for those types of injuries. So that's another area as well. So there's more I want to talk about. I get so excited about it, but I want to see what you all thought about it, and if you have any questions about just those two major parts of this legislation, which is coming into effect shortly.
I think this is phenomenal.
It is.
You know, because we've been asking people to join us at America's Heroes Group. We're now live on Facebook and YouTube. And so the message is going out even further and further. We're like in 46 countries now, where we're all across the country right now in the United States. So I'm hoping that your message gets out to everyone that they need to be looking at this act as it's becoming forward. And it's important, I would imagine. One of the things that happens, I know about asbestos, is it takes 20 to 30 years as a latency period. So sometimes people think, well, I don't have cancer, and they, have been exposed to burn pits. But it sounds like there's a necessity for people to go ahead and to make sure that if they file or at least make some kind of affirmative statement that they have been exposed at some point.
That's absolutely right. So there is a process where if you can register with the VA even now, even if you don't have one of the conditions that's connected to burn pit exposure or to toxin exposure, but you can go ahead and register that you qualify if you develop any of these diseases. So you're already on the books, and then it just makes it so much easier when unfortunately, if you did have some kind of problem. Also, just for registering with the VA on this toxic exposure registry they have. Also, it makes it easier when you're applying, saying, I'm eligible for VA health care because I deployed to Iraq or Afghanistan or some other location. It's really important in that regard also. Yeah, so this is a really huge deal. The third part of this legislation, which is really phenomenal, is, and this goes back to Vietnam. So there are many veterans who served in areas outside of Vietnam who were exposed to Agent Orange, but they really have been prohibited for getting disability compensation for conditions that are presumed to have been caused by Agent Orange exposure, like cancers and heart conditions and all kinds of other things, really terrible diseases. This legislation now, and I've had many veterans I represented who served in those areas, particularly Thailand, who then developed, let's say, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and they would fight and fight and fight to try and get the VA to service-connect their condition, and it was very difficult because you had to show that the veteran served in the perimeter of a base, et cetera, et cetera. This law just says flat out, if you serve in those locations and you have one of the Agent Orange diseases, then it's going to be service-connected. So for veterans who've been fighting this thing for decades, it finally is going to be here where they don't have to, where they actually are going to get their conditions service connected and get the treatment and the compensation that they deserve. That's the third part of it that's really amazing.
Oh, fantastic. That's really that's a very important benefit. So you don't really have to go through the same hoops or the same kind of proof trail in order to establish that you actually have been exposed when you have. So this is.
That's exactly right.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
exactly right. And I had veterans where I would research and try and show that they served on this particular base. And often these bases were, they weren't well documented. They were with, the Thailand Army or whatever, but they showed that they served at this base and they did this particular thing at the base and they used Agent Orange at the base in this manner. You don't have to show any of that anymore. So it just makes it so much easier. Sadly, it's very late in the game, but still, at least it's happening, for those veterans who've been fighting this for such a long time.
Yeah. And what about family members? So what if someone already has this condition? They already have cancer. I've treated patients before, and if they've had stage 4 cancer, sometimes it's very debilitating. So it's almost impossible for them to fight for themselves. That they have to sort of rely on family members. So can the spouses of these members or their children aid them in, trying to get things established if they're really sick?
Oh, absolutely. They can assist in filing the claims and pushing them forward, or working with a veteran service officer or with the attorney if you're really in an appeal situation. Attorney like myself,
Yes.
and other attorneys who do this type of law. But also, this is really, really significant, is let's say you have a spouse who is married to a veteran, the veteran passes away from Agent Orange exposure, and they served in Thailand. You can show that now much more easily, and that the widow or the widower becomes eligible, can now get what's called a DIC, basically get a pension for the rest of their lives if they can show that the veteran, now they'll be able to show much more easily that the veteran died of a service-connected condition. They died of cancer, or they died of neuropathy or a heart condition that's related to Agent Orange exposure. So it really is a huge thing for those family members to be able to get compensation because the veteran died of a condition caused by their service.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, that is just absolutely beautiful, because many of these spouses, they don't, maybe that veteran was the primary breadwinner for the family, and they're trying to get by on whatever income they have, and this veteran lost their life. Maybe they were the sole breadwinner for the entire family, and so there is some recourse for them to stabilize their life, and even though their service member, their spouse, or their parent died for the country, we always assume that it's due to direct gunfire, taking incoming from an enemy, but this is actually along the same lines, where you're putting your life on the line for your country, and as a result you die from your service.
Yeah. Yeah, because you would.
That's absolutely right.
Yeah, you wouldn't be there.
And you're right. I mean, it doesn't often show up immediately, particularly like if you're exposed to Agent Orange. Cliff, I'm sure you're aware of many Vietnam veterans who didn't develop conditions until much, much later in their life, but it was related to Agent Orange exposure.
Right.
The particular veteran that this act is named after served in Kosovo and then in Iraq, but he didn't die until 2020. So it was a very long process for him, but he was exposed to all these toxins during that time. So it does take a long time sometimes for these conditions to show up. So this act is really a big deal. So I have lots more to talk about. So if you guys want to,
Oh, sure, you have.
talk
You
about
have
other,
yeah,
other
we can go on.
developments,
We have 8 minutes for you.
Well, I mean, I guess I'm kind of like a veterans law dork, because it excites me to talk about things that are happening in the law that for the most part, help veterans. Sometimes there are negative decisions, and there's one that came out recently from the Supreme Court that we could talk about. But one area that really is a development that is part of a trend. We've talked previously about there's this huge number of veterans post 9/11 in particular who were discharged and received other than honorable discharges, and they came out of service with either traumatic brain injury or PTSD, and so they got in trouble in service after deploying, and then got the boot and don't get any VA benefits, can't get health care, they get nothing. And so there were these class actions that were filed with the Army and the Navy and Marine Corps to force the boards that consider discharge upgrades to really apply the law and the regulations about with veterans who have those conditions, that those things need to be taken into account in assessing whether to upgrade their discharges. So there were class actions that were filed in the Army, Navy, and Marine Corps, which forced those boards to have to reconsider thousands and thousands of cases because they didn't do it properly. Well, great thing. I have many clients at Veteran Advocacy Project who are going through that reconsideration process now, so they're getting another shot at it. Well, the good news, in my view, is there is a class action that now has been filed with the Air Force. The name of the case is Johnson versus Kendall, and it looks like to me that it's going to follow the same path that the other cases followed, which is that the service, the Air Force in this case, is going to settle and agree to reconsider these cases of veterans with PTSD and TBI to see whether or not they applied the rules properly and whether or not they should be given an upgrade. So as I said, these veterans can get the VA care, get the disability compensation. Among that population, the suicide rate is just astronomical of that particular group of post 9/11 veterans who got that negative discharge. So that's a big development also, where we're going to see a lot of, I think, positive things for Air Force veterans in this situation.
Mm-hmm.
What else do you think?
Oh, okay. Well, I got more. So
yeah, I know you have.
Yeah, along those lines, I guess, not to be the bearer of bad news, but since we're talking about the law, this was a little bit surprising to me. The Supreme Court took up a case, George versus McDonough, and the issue in the case was if the VA decides a case against the veteran, saying we're not going to grant you disability compensation because of this regulation, and then that regulation is later found to be invalid, which happens because the regulation wasn't properly passed, doesn't follow congressional intent. Can a veteran go back and refile and say, well, now you should reconsider my case because that regulation was invalid? You would think, just from a sort of the way we look at veterans, you'd think that the Supreme Court would say, well, of course, you can go back and refile and have it considered. But the Supreme Court actually came back and said, no, you can't do that. So that was a really disappointing decision for veterans advocates. And it was big news in the veteran law world that decision came out. So that was a negative thing that occurred. That was George versus McDonough. It just recently came out. I think people were really hoping for a different decision in that case because it's not an uncommon scenario where these regulations are found to be invalid. So that was a bummer. So I guess as a lawyer, I have to talk about the good things, the bad things. That was a bad thing. But,
it sounds bad. It doesn't sound like a logical decision because if you were depending on a law or a regulation or policy that said you cannot, and it was being put forward by the federal government, and you were following that, and then later on you find out that what they told you was wrong, and then it doesn't make any sense. My Supreme Court's not on my really great list this year for all the things that they've been deciding, but this is just absolutely abominable. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
Well, you know what, and it leads into another another decision that just came out, which this is what seems to me to be at odds. If you just take a step back and look at it, because under the VA, under law by Congress, claims by veterans, the veteran is supposed to be given the benefit of the doubt. That's written into the law. That's like the most fundamental precept in VA disability cases. That's what's supposed to happen. And in one case in the Federal Circuit, which just came out recently also, the court said, absolutely, you're supposed to give the VA, supposed to give the veteran the benefit of the doubt, and we are reaffirming that as being a fundamental principle in these cases. At the same time, you then have the Supreme Court saying, sorry, we're going to view these regulations very, very narrowly, and we're going to find against the veteran. So you're really not giving the veteran the benefit of the doubt at all. So that's what is, to me, was a little shocking that was the decision. And there are legally, you could see, how they could come up with a decision, but just from the broader policy that the VA is designed to and was founded on the idea that they're supposed to be giving veterans assistance and the benefit of the doubt. That was what was very disappointing about it. So,
well, thank you so much, Brent.
That's the way it goes.
We just ran out of time, but we're going to have you back because I love the magic bag you bring with you with the laws. a lot of good issues you brought up, and I'm really encouraged by the positives. You're going to have some negatives that are going, but it's because of advocates like you, people who are in the legal profession, who are doing the work, the advocates, that these laws are being actually seriously taken and taken to the correct courts, the federal courts, the state courts, and even the Supreme Court. So without people like you, we would be lost. So I just
thank you.
I want to commend you for what you do as an attorney for our people. Also, why don't you give your telephone number really quickly, or your contact information if people want your legal services?
Sure. So best way to reach me is at my email, which is bfilbert@veteranadvocacy.org. So B and then my last name Filbert, Filbert, at veteranadvocacy.org. Always happy to answer questions. It's great seeing you guys. Great talking to you.
Oh, same here.
You
Very
were
much
great.
so.
We appreciate you.
Okay, stay with us. Stay with us. America's Heroes Group is going to be back for another round, and we are going to have Brent back at some point, so stick around, and we will be back in a moment.
Hi, I'm Cliff Kelley, Vietnam veteran and host of America's Heroes Group, the game changer in radio, print, and digital media programming. We are a roundtable talk show where information, resources, and referrals are provided intentionally every Saturday to empower our military population on WVON 1690 AM, the iHeart Radio app from 4 to 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. Please visit our website at www.americashg.org.
What's going on? What's going on?
Hi, this is Cliff Kelley, the host of America's Heroes Group. If you or a loved one has been injured in an accident or the result of malpractice, you have only one chance to get the compensation you deserve. You need a law firm you can trust with experience and resources who will fight on your behalf. With a proven track record of excellence both in and out of the courtroom, call Seidman, Margulis, and Fairman at 312-781-1977 for a free consultation, or visit SeidmanLaw.net. That's Seidman, SEIDMAN, law.net.
Hey, Cliff, where can a veteran business owner go on the south side of Chicago for breakfast, lunch, and dinner meetings?
I'm a veteran, and that's an easy answer. Pearl's Place on 39th and Michigan. Pearl's Place has free parking available across the street. Reasonably priced, quality food that tastes delicious. Veteran owners, there's no place like Pearl's Place.
Market, advertise, and sponsor your business with Vietnam veteran Cliff Kelley and America's Heroes Group, where information and resources are intentionally disseminated via radio, print, and social media. Call our office for more details at 312-803-2618.
The Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
Good afternoon and welcome to America's Heroes Group Roundtable with partner VETS, V-E-T-S, that's Veterans Employment and Training Service. July is American Diabetes and National Minority Mental Health Awareness Month. It's Saturday, July 23rd, 2022. I am Vietnam veteran co-founder and host, Cliff Kelley.
Hey, Cliff.
Hey.
And I'm his co-host, Dr. Damon Arnold, a retired Army Colonel, Filbert. And our executive producer is Glenda Smith. And our digital media producer is Ivan Ortega of Scouts Honor Productions, the great Ivan. We are live on Facebook and YouTube. Today we have a panelist who is esteemed, James D. Rodriguez. He actually is has retired after 21 years as a U.S. Marine Corps veteran and U.S. Department of Labor Principal Deputy Assistant Secretary for Policy for Veterans Employment and Training Service. We are honored always to have him. Today's discussion is going to talk about July 25th is Hire a Veteran Day, and VETS program that help employers hire veterans. He is making sure you are gainfully employed. So listen to what he has to say. How are you doing, James?
I am doing well. Thank you all.
Great.
I just want to make one quick introduction. Since we last spoke, I was on this amazing podcast. I was confirmed by the Senate to be the Assistant Secretary for Veteran Employment Training Service.
Oh,
that happened in May, so
wonderful.
I'm happy to continue to lead my amazing team and fortunate that the President, the Secretary of Labor, and the Senate has bestowed upon me the honor to continue to lead as an Assistant Secretary.
I just crossed out that deputy on my.
That's right.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Excellent.
Yeah,
they got a good man.
Yeah, that's great.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about this. What's going on July 25th? There's a Hire a Veteran Day, and it comes up, I guess, on a yearly basis. But there's something that we still have veterans who are unemployed, still have veterans who are homeless, veterans who want to actually increase their income by getting a better job opportunity. So what is it that you advise our veterans to do on these days? If they're in that situation where you're looking for a job, not to give up. Some people have given up and they're tired, and they don't know where to turn. So what does this do for them?
Well, thanks for actually, bringing me on again.
Yes,
and bringing this important topic up. I can tell you one thing that you just mentioned, we still have veterans unemployed.
Okay.
If you look at our veteran unemployment rate for the month of July, we were actually at 2.7%.
Wow.
Now, that sounds like a great number compared to the national unemployment rate for non-veterans, and which it is a good number. We're doing a good job of getting veterans employed. One of the challenges, though, we have is underemployment. I think you alluded to that a little bit. It's getting veterans into generational careers, right? Careers that after the military service, they can use their skill sets that they developed there, the training that they've developed, and take that into the corporate world, regardless of what type of employment they do have, but finding meaningful employment that creates generational wealth and generational health. And when you look at all the programs we have a lot of resources. One of the challenges still, as you all know here, is connecting veterans to those resources. We have great partners in the federal government with our union partners, the military support organizations, veteran support organizations, but it really relies on a community partnership. And so having these conversations with you all, I cannot overstate the importance of that, because we have to have community partnerships that are strengthening our communications to our veterans so they understand what resources we have. I often speak to numerous corporate leaders. I'm actually around the country quite a bit, out at the local level, because that's where, again, the information is most important to me. And one of the things that we hear is we can't find enough veterans. They want to hire more veterans than they can actually find. And I ask them always is to make sure that we have good jobs that are one, meaningful, two, that actually are sustainable and have an ability to help that individual veteran, right, with benefits, with longevity in that career, but that really helps them from a health standpoint. Because, again, economic stability is something that's important to our veterans, just like it is to anyone else. So that was a long answer to your question. And I hope that it kind of sheds a little bit of light on what we're trying to do here at VETS.
Oh, right, absolutely. Because James, one of the things that came to mind as you were speaking is that right now, if you look at the media, you look at the news, the number one thing employers are complaining about, I can't find anybody. I'm running out of people. I'm trying to keep my restaurant open. I'm trying to keep my hotel open. I'm trying to, make sure that my shipping company is working, my transportation company, and my construction company. So it seems like there is a need out there. There's a great need. But how do you envision that now? Do you think that has changed the playing field a little bit, or, with the COVID-19, a lot of people have lost jobs. They're trying to go back into the workplace now, but there are still gaps there, huge gaps in industries. So does that make it a better time now for veterans to consider getting employed?
100%. Right now is an ideal time for veterans to get into careers. One of the things that we often speak about from a GOL vet's perspective is getting into careers, not just a job that's not going to be sustainable. Because we know that doesn't work well for the veteran or the company, because companies spend a lot of time and resources trying to find folks to come in and work for them. But we do know that having a good career with longevity is what's best for our veterans, getting them into positions that they can really use their skill sets, as I mentioned earlier. If you really think about it, right, both of you, again, thank you for your service. I can't understate that enough. No. But both of you, if you look at what the government has put into training as far as resources, hundreds of thousands of dollars that's put into our service members when they go through active duty training, from recruit training, officer candidate school on. And so we want to make sure that corporate leaders understand that there's a value in hiring a veteran, plain and simple. We also know that they have skill sets that are often not found in non-veterans. And we have data that shows that our veterans outperform our non-veteran peers in the workplace. They get promoted faster. On top of that, they're more educated. On average, our veterans have 86% of our veterans have a high school diploma or greater, compared to our non-veteran peers, which are 82% on average, national average. And only 23% of 18 to 24-year-olds can even qualify for military service. Mm-hmm. Think about that. Only 23% of the young Americans, 18 to 24, can even qualify for military service. So that tells you we're getting the best and the brightest. We have the most highly educated military force in our nation's history. So we want to utilize those skill sets and the training investment and put those into careers that allow them to go in and thrive in their next employment opportunity after the military service.
Yeah, that's great. One of the things you made me think about something that happened when I was, I had done a couple of tours in Iraq, and someone asked me, and they said, "Oh, are you going to go?" Because I was a flight surgeon, and they said, "Are you going to go out there on the, on the Black Hawks and all that?" And I said, "Yeah, absolutely." I said, "You know how much money the taxpayers spent to train me?" Because I found out how much they were spending, training pilots and training the, the personnel in the military. And if you want to talk about a dedicated force of people, I've been in the private sector, public sector, the military sector going, obviously. One of the greatest workforces I've ever seen was in the military. They get things done, and they will follow a protocol to the T, and there's no, back talking, and, it's, you get the things done. And, so if you want to train someone, if you want someone who already has some skills, look at a veteran. That's always been my position.
Good point.
I could agree more. One of the things I said in my confirmation hearing is that when I was a Marine Corps drill instructor, I spent 6 years.
Oh, boy, you a DI?
Uh-oh. Yeah, I am, yes. Yeah. 3 years at the recruit depot in San Diego and 3 at officer candidate school. And I used to always tell my drill instructor teams, hey, look, we're not only making good Marines, we're making good citizens.
Yes.
Right. And that's why I 100% believe that what we do across the board in every service. So you have citizen soldiers, as the saying goes, that are coming into the workplace, and they have tremendous value, training to back that up, that they're going to add into the workplace. So it's not only good for the veteran, but it's good for every employer that hires a veteran. Most companies will perform better because they hire veterans.
Mm-hmm. You know, because you're at the federal level, right? And you have input into state activities and local and all that because of the federal system, how it goes down through the system, right, through the tree. So I'm wondering, what do you think people should be doing at the local level? From your perspective, from where you're sitting, you know, you probably have a bird's eye view of the country, and you know what else is going on that's out there that you see needs to improve on our part as citizens.
I do have a bird's eye view, as you mentioned, but here's the thing. I've got state directors in every state across the country. I have regional directors in all 6 regions across the country. I have contract staff that support us all across the country. We have about 1,800 staff that roughly touch our veterans programs. Last year alone, 331,000 plus veterans were touched by our programs, all of the numerous programs that we have in DOL vets. And can we do better? Yes. So every day we can do better. Here's the other thing, is I travel frequently around the country to go out and meet with local leaders, meet with corporate leaders, meet with our staff. I was just recently out at the VFW National Convention in Kansas City, speaking with leaders there. I was at the Non-Commissioned Officers Association in San Antonio. I'll be out at Disabled American Veterans Conference, the American Legion Conference. So what I am doing is employing our partners, as I mentioned early on in the podcast, is to work with us. And we know that the work gets done at the community level. I often say that's where the grunt work gets done. It's down at the community level. And so we have to be able to listen. We have to be able to learn from our community leaders and our vets team who are working hand in hand with these community leaders every single day. And, of course, our federal partners. Here's one thing I'll add is that if we really look at apprenticeship programs, that's one of the things we've been really working on here at DOL, and this is DOL writ large, is really getting our veterans into apprenticeship programs, because we know that not every veteran wants to go to college, but they can do well in specific apprenticeship programs where they get skills and training and certifications that allow them to make a good living wage when they do transition out of that apprenticeship program. On average, they're making about $32,000 a year more than someone that has a 4-year degree as soon as they graduate. And so we have apprenticeship opportunities in every field across the nation, and we work closely with our DoD Skill Bridge partners. So someone can do a Skill Bridge apprenticeship program before they separate from the military. And for those who do not, we want to continue to advocate for participation in apprenticeship programs across the country. We do a lot of that work with our local unions. A lot of our union leaders out of Chicago, for example, we have close relationship with the Teamsters there. We do great work with them. They support training at numerous bases and give careers. As soon as that individual separates from the military, they actually have a job in that apprenticeship program or within that organization that supported it.
That's fantastic.
Sure is.
That is really fantastic. So, I mean, you're really putting them on a coordinated track to a sustained career that they can rely on, and that's really important. You know, because you can always say, well, you know, have some boxes in the back to move, and then so show up for work for this week, and then see you later, right? After the week is over. So you're really trying to get people career tracked, which I think is extremely important.
It is.
Yeah, but one thing I was wondering, right now we're in this thing where if you look across the world, right, where we're looking at this whole thing with global warming, with fires happening up and down the coast. We're starting to talk about automotive technologies, electric cars. We're doing solar power. What about that industry, the green economy? Are you getting involved in that, or how do our veterans get involved in that kind of discipline?
We are, and so you're 100% correct. If we look at the future of work, a lot of it revolves around clean energy, green energy. I will be speaking in Chicago at the Advanced Energy Summit here next month.
Oh, right.
And I'm looking forward to that. So we've been working with them closely to look at how we get veterans into clean energy jobs. And one of the things that we're hoping will pan out is a clean energy grant for our Education and Training Administration here within DOL. There's some funding there in the future, potential funding for clean energy jobs and grantees. So we're working with them to ensure that our veterans get to participate in that grant process. On top of that, one of the things I usually talk about with the clean energy folks is understanding that there is a need for corporate development there. There's a need for veterans to get in there. But what I also want is veterans to learn those skill sets and build their own companies revolving around clean energy also, to become entrepreneurs. You know, we need a lot of small business leaders, and veterans traditionally are small business leaders. We need a lot of them to get into these type of fields. Our team, give you another example, our team in Kentucky is working with Ford, looking at potential opportunities to work or get veterans into their plants when they build out their Ford electric vehicle plant down in Tennessee and Kentucky area. So we're working with them to make sure that they do remember that veterans are in those areas. Veterans bring a lot of skill sets that can be very, very intuitive within the green energy. So we're doing some work around the country on numerous fronts for clean energy.
Yeah, how do people keep in contact with that? You know, as far as is a website that they can go to, or how do people find out more about what you're trying to do?
Sure. If they go to dol.gov/agencies/vets, or they go just Google DOL vets.
Okay.
Department of Labor Veteran Employment Training Service. If they do that, they'll be brought to our webpage, and it'll show all of the programs that we have on our webpage. It will also show about our apprenticeship programs. It'll connect to some other agencies within DOL that we work very closely with, as I mentioned, our Office of Apprenticeship and our ETA colleagues, But one of the really neat things there is we also have the Hire Vets Medallion program. And basically what that program is, it awards corporations for hiring and employing veterans and retaining veterans. And they get an annual award that they can compete for, anywhere from a gold or platinum award. If they receive one of those awards, their corporate link is on our webpage. And so you go to our employment webpage and you know that they're hiring veterans because they've been awarded for it. So I would encourage anybody to go to our webpage and follow us on social media and really look at all the great things that the organization is doing across the country.
Fantastic. You know, and one other question I have, I've heard of this, it was in the news pretty much, and, you know, I've heard it in a couple of different places, but they're now talking about, you know, veterans to farms, where they're trying to get veterans to become farmers or to take on agricultural roles. Is there any truth to that? How does that work? Is there anything out there?
No, and that is 100% true. I actually spoke with a veteran who was doing some organic farming, and he actually was from the Midwest, and he was looking to do something that his family had done, not organic, but farming, and he knew there was an opportunity to get a small business association grant for veterans, and so he got a grant there, and he started an organic farm because that's what he wanted to do after he got out of the military. So there's other veterans who are doing those type of building those type of organizations, working in the farming community, and in numerous communities that you can think of, there's veterans working there, most likely around the country.
Yeah, because that's a big thing now. Is with the green movement, you have a mindset of people, that are coming up. Younger people, middle-aged people, even older people are turning towards organics and looking for products like that. And there's a market out there for it. You're starting to see a lot of fresh fruits farms and sales that are happening even downtown Chicago, throughout the country, even in Atlanta, wherever you go. So that sounds like it would be a great, step into doing something that is sustainable. And then also they have the wind farms with the, energy production as well. So we have, I think we have more, windmills than we do those towers than we do plants on some of the farms.
Yeah, you're right.
Producing energy.
They're really something to see too.
Yeah, but I think that is I think between the technology and in those particular industries, there's really a big bright light in the future for those for people to jump into those professions. But we have about another 4 minutes to go. But let me know what you whatever you wish to talk about what you see coming up in your role, because now you're the assistant secretary, and you're in that role. So what would what's your wish list for the future? What do you see coming down the road, or what do you hope to see?
Well, thanks. We have three priorities that we really revolve our work around. One is getting the transition right. Service members that are transitioning out of the military, we want to ensure that they have the resources, the knowledge to help them make a good, solid decision on what their next career is going to be post-transition. I was just speaking yesterday in San Antonio to some group of soldiers and airmen out in Fort Sam, Houston, and talking to them about this exact same thing. Take this information, take the skills and training that they have, and put it into a career that's going to be meaningful to you, and it's going to help you build that long-term growth, career growth, post-military service. So that's one. The other one is working with partners, working with the right partners across the country to help us do exactly what we've just been speaking about. It's finding career opportunities, ensuring that our veterans understand what resources are available. If we have veterans who are experiencing homelessness, that we work with our VA partners to get them housed, get them medical care, and then we come in as part of the HPRP, Homeless Veteran Reintegration Grant Program, grant support to get them into meaningful careers, get them jobs that are going to help sustain them. We know when veterans have good jobs that it's beneficial to them overall from a physical and a mental health standpoint. So that's important. And then third, getting resources to our underserved communities, where traditionally a lot of our programs may not have touched in the past, and we're focusing on getting to those communities that traditionally have not been supported by our programs. And so those are my three priorities that we as an organization are really building on. We're looking at how do we sustain employment, or if somebody's looking to change careers through our off-base transition training program, so veterans can go to these trainings after they've been out of the military, where they're maybe looking for their next career, get freshened up on some interview skills, LinkedIn, how to connect with partners who are looking to hire veterans, and then our Employment Navigator partnership pilot that we have on basis that help our transition assistance coordinators really get an individual counseling session in place for those individuals transitioning out so they can get connected to our American Job Sitters. We have 1,800 American Job Sitters around the country that are supported by our Disabled Veteran Outreach Program leads and our local veteran employment resource leads at those different American Job Sitters. So as I mentioned earlier in the podcast, is that really connecting resources to those veterans is one of the things that we know continues to be a challenge. We know we need to work with all of our partners across the country, local, state, federal, nonprofits, community leaders, so they do understand all of these resources that I just highlighted exist specifically to support our veterans. And lastly, our military spouses. We know how important our military spouses are to career success for our veterans. We have programs in place. Our transition assistance for military spouses, for example, helps them understand how to utilize their skill sets and to navigate the workplace utilizing those skill sets, because they are just as important as a service member when it comes to finding careers that are sustainable for the overall health and wellness of the family. So we're focused on military spouses as well.
Yeah, you as a DI, you beat me to the punch, as DIs often do. But I was going to say, you're doing so much work to help these families and the children that may serve in a uniform one day too. And I really am so proud of what you're doing. So DOL.gov is the place to go, and we have a new assistant secretary that we are so proud to have an association with at America's Heroes Group. You are always more than welcome to be here with us, and thank you for what you do for our veterans and their families.
Well, thank you both very much. Thank you again for your service, and thank you for helping us get our message out about what we do at DOL Vets, because, again, it's folks like you all who understand the value of our veterans and how they really can be hallmarks of the community, but also hallmarks in the corporate world. And we want to make sure that we work with you all or any other organization that wants to highlight the value of our veterans and military spouses. So I'm happy to come on and always share about the great work that we do at DOL Vets, because we've got an amazing team that really believe in the mission every single day when we come to work.
And I'm going to support every company that's on your list that you're giving awards to. I'm telling you, I really want to give a great shout out to all those companies that support your activities and what DOL is doing. So thank you, companies. You are the heart of our nation.
Well, we are happily to announce we are officially partners with James Rodriguez and Vets as of today. Yes. We had such a they resonated really highly when he came on in January. Yeah. So I sent an email thanking him for his time, because he didn't have to do it, and explain how we could further help to get the message out in terms of what we do here on America's Heroes Group. Of course, he had the foresight to say, let's do it. So officially, as of today, they're on every fourth Saturday from 5:30 to 6. So bravo.
Excellent.
Bravo. Yes.
I look forward to those discussions. Excellent.
Absolutely, sir.
Right, thank you.
Thank you for your service.
And I'm not sure if they're cloning you in D.C., but it sounds like you have 15 places to be at one time all the time.
And you know what? I try to get to every single one of them because it's important.
Thank you
it's
so
important.
much.
I can't learn everything from my office in D.C. I've got to be out in the community.
Godspeed on the road.
Absolutely. Thank you to all our partners today, to Legally Speaking with Steve, to Community Outreach with our advisory board member, the Honorable Danny K. Davis of the 7th Illinois Congressional District, to Veterans Advocacy Project, bravo, and to our new partners, Vets. Oh my gosh. Please feel free to call America's Heroes Group. We are 24/7 located at 155 North Wacker Drive, Suite 4250, Chicago, Illinois. Phone number 312-803-2618. We are here. We are here for you. Regarding housing information, resources, about benefits, what you need, we are here. We can get it to you. That's what we do on this show. We're global because of you, because we connect you to information and resources that you did not have. So we connect the disconnected. That's what we specialize in. To our host, the one and only Governor Talk Radio, Cliff Kelley, to our co-host, Colonel Dr. Damon, to the best technical producer, Jada, to our digital media producer, Ivan Ortega of Scouts Honor. Everyone have a blessed weekend, and please get vaccinated. Please. It's safe. It's okay. Get vaccinated. If you've been vaccinated, get your booster. America's Heroes Group. Blessings to all.
Okay, we may need a DI at some point.
We have in our chase bags, we have a care package of hygiene, we have shaving equipment, we have razors, and for the women we have the same personal hygiene items for them as well. And we want to say thank you for their service. This is Chase Bank. Thank you very much.
People in the neighborhood, free haircuts, and service, and food. Look good. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your service.
Thank you for your service.
Okay. On behalf of Cliff Kelley, America's Heroes Group, we sincerely thank Chase Bank for coming where it matters to help homeless veterans